What's up guys, TheDevildogGamer here, and we are finally getting to play Battlefield 2042. EA was nice enough to give me and a bunch of other content creators early access earlier in the week to the beta build of what everyone's going to play for the beta on the orbital map. And dude, for those of you that just want the answer, it's fucking awesome. There are some issues with it, there are some things that I do not like that I will talk about in the video, but overall, it's freaking awesome. It just feels great. It looks great. It's a lot of fun. It's a Battlefield game, man. It's just really dang cool. Now, we didn't get too much time with it. We only got to play the orbital map. We didn't get to do anything like that. They didn't tell us anything about Hazard or Portal. They didn't really discuss that. It was just more focused on what you're going to see in the beta. This is an older build. They were telling us they've made a stupid amount of progress on like polishing the game, but this is an older, stabler version of the game. So any bugs you see in this are probably fixed, you know, because they said this is nothing like the new one that they have. But overall, super, super awesome. I know a lot of people are really curious about the graphics. YouTube doesn't do it justice because it's a rendered and coded video, and it just doesn't look like it's going to look in game. It looked super crisp. I was playing it at 1440 at 144 hertz. My specs are, I got a Ryzen 9 5950X and a 3090 and 64 gigabytes of DDR4. Never dropped below 200 FPS, completely maxed everything. The only thing I turned off was motion blur. I didn't get to mess with the UI too much, but it is super customizable along with, you know, it's Battlefield. Everything's super customizable when it comes to like the layout of the game and stuff like that. Graphics were freaking amazing. It ran great. The only thing is the first round I played, it chugged for maybe 2 minutes, I think, while it was kind of just loading textures and stuff like that. After that, I had zero issues whatsoever. Ran like a dream. Hit detection was perfect. No issues, no lagginess, nothing. It looks fucking great. The gunplay itself is pretty awesome. The new customization system where you hit a button and you can choose what scope you want and things like that pops on. I didn't see anything where you could pre-customize weapons. There was no customization slot, and this kind of leads me to believe that we're getting less customization as before. Like, you won't be able to unlock certain things because there's only so many slots you can do in that quick customization. And when guns were unlocked during this beta, there were already scopes and everything in there like that. There might be an ability to kind of customize weapons, but I'm kind of worried that we're going to be getting into a situation where it's going to have less customization of your weapons than previous Battlefield games, like maybe less skins or things like that. I don't think they would seriously tone that back that much. They might just have it to where, you know, you can choose what customizations are going in your customization slot for your quick customization. But we didn't really get anything to play around with that. It was just kind of whatever was already on there. So I'm kind of hoping that's the case, because the way you customize weapons and things like that was always a really cool thing in Battlefield. And I don't see, especially with the popularity of Tarkov, you know, them kind of toning back weapon customization as it is already. So it was just one thing I kind of noticed, and I'm like, all right, I kind of want to keep my eye out on this and maybe kind of do some digging and see what we can figure out about it, because that's a huge part of Battlefield in itself. And I think it would be stupid to reverse that, to be honest. But tons of different scopes, and even cool things like the ACOG. The ACOG runs off of tritium, which needs sunlight. When you go into the tunnels, the reticle isn't illuminated because it doesn't have sunlight to illuminate the said tritium. Cool little like things like that, like nice little attentions to details. You don't get that in a lot of games. People just think, oh, the ACOG, but it's like, no, it needs sunlight, dude. So like when you're indoors or outside or even in a tunnel, of course you're not gonna get an illuminated reticle. So that was a nice little feature that I was like, all right, you know, that's cool to see. I see that they're doing some research on some optics. So that was really fun. When it comes to the map size itself, Orbital is really large. For 128 players, there was quite a lot going on. Combat-wise, they did say in the beginning that majority of the combat is going to be around the rocket area where the trawler goes, the vehicle assembly building, and the rocket launcher, and a lot of it did. Also towards the fueling station here at the 2C markers, a lot of combat. But there were a few other flags that literally nobody went to, and there was no combat at, and Like, I never even went to go capture because it never changed hands at all. It just stayed whoever originally had it. These maps are pretty dang big. There wasn't a lot of verticality when it came to this map, but there were a lot of tunnels that would go under certain things, tunnels under the mountains and different areas like that. Didn't get to explore it as much as I wanted to because we were really time limited on this. It was just, yeah, they gave us pretty much like 2-3 hours, and you just went ham. So didn't really get to look around much, but the forests and the bushes and the grass and everything was really awesome. The map itself is really cool. There's a lot of room for helicopters, tanks, and things, which there are tons of, and we'll talk a little bit more about. But itself, the map was gigantic and was really awesome. Definitely fit 128 players, and honestly, it could have fit way more. We could have had an extra 100 players if we wanted to, and I think the map wouldn't have been overcrowded at all. There was just a lot of room, and even some of the far points never even got touched. It was just combat was stationed in certain areas to begin with. Now, of course, we got to talk about the tornado. We did have a tornado come through. There is dynamic weather. The weather kind of actually changed from raining and stuff like that. And even in vehicles, like in the rain, you had raindrops all over the front of the helicopters and stuff. And, you know, you would see the raindrops everywhere. But the tornado coming through was the coolest thing. As you get closer, you start taking damage, and eventually you just get lifted off the ground, and everyone's flying around with parachutes. You got vehicles up in there, and eventually it just kills you. It was a cool little thing because you can see like you see it coming across the map, and you can see it on your actual map and the influence sphere and stuff like that, and what it takes out. It kind of, you know, of course, you know, nobody avoided it. We all went for it and you know, checked it out, but itself is kind of a cool little thing. It didn't really get to look too much about the damage because there is tons of damage. I mean, when you can make the rocket launch on its own, and it'll randomly launch on its own, or you can blow it up yourself and it just destroys the whole launch pad and changes it. So there's a lot of destruction in itself because it is Battlefield. You know, nothing really changed there, but I didn't really get to see if the tornado did too much damage to anything. I didn't really, you know, the path it kind of took didn't really take it past any buildings, but definitely will kill you, and it's a cool little feature, something like, oh shit, well, let me go indoors, or I'm going to avoid that, especially if you're on a really good kill streak and things like that. One of the big things I did not like is the movement. To me, the movement speed is way faster than any previous Battlefield game. The sprint and the run were almost like identical speed. I didn't really see much of a difference. And it felt like I was playing Quake. Like, I really felt like I was just hauling ass all over this map. And it made gunplay a little weird because people were, like, you're trying to lead shots, and dudes are just going all the way across your screen really fast. And especially in a full sprint. And it made shooting them pretty hard. I mean, the guns themselves, not a lot of recoil. The dispersion on them is pretty terrible on some of them, like the light machine gun. You know, it's not hitting where you're aiming, it's dispersing all around, kind of like a shotgun. But the assault rifles themselves, like this M5, was really good. I mean, I was dropping snipers with them from a distance. This thing has like 0 recoil, so I'm kind of hoping they kind of look at the weapons a bit more and the player speed, because both of those combined kind of made for a really weird engagements to where I'm like, all right, I feel like I'm ice skating across this entire map, and so is the other dude. And then I'm like, all right, I can't hit my shots because I'm not using a really awesome gun. But the movement speed, I feel like is a tad bit high. If they tone it down a little bit, kind of more towards, you know, maybe Battlefield 4 levels, it would be okay. But I didn't really like the movement speed too much. The vehicles are pretty dang cool. You can start doing part damage on them. So if you aim your rockets at parts that, you know, are important, you can damage those parts, which is nice to see. And, you know, the aircraft weren't super overpowered. I wouldn't say. They had just the basic rockets and the guns and air-to-air missiles. The VTOL transport was super cool, like the V-22 with actual jet engines. Only got to use it for like a split second. The thing was awesome. And then, of course, you have the Super Hind, which is a Hind transport with just bristling with guns and everything like that. Even like wing-mounted guns that people in the passenger seat can actually control, which was super freaking cool. Of course, Apaches and things like that were really awesome. And then the tanks were really cool. And if your barrel hits an object, your barrel will actually lift and get out of the way of the object to kind of pass through it. So that way it's like You know, you're not bishing your barrel through walls and things like that. The vehicles were pretty well balanced. I did like them a lot. There was a lot of room. I never got to try the jets, but the helicopters were cool. And in chase mode, when you actually zoom in, you get this. It takes a bit to get used to. You get this weird third person. You're looking from the side of the helicopter, zoom in on the reticle instead of the old way. And it took me kind of a hot minute to get used to it. I don't think it'll be an issue once you get more hands-on with it, but it was kind of weird at first and took me a hot second to be like, all right, well, that's a little weird. But it's a cool little thing. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing how these vehicles work out. They flew really awesome. There's like also an auto mode where if like you just kind of doing your thing, you can hold shift and it kind of holds the helicopter and aircraft in like a stable area. Maybe it's kind of like if you're falling, you can hit it. Like if you're getting ready to crash, you hit it, and it might correct the aircraft or the helicopter a little better. But there were some really cool vehicles. Looking forward to seeing how they customize from here. But overall, the vehicles were 10 out of 10. Really cool. Can't wait to play more with them. Another thing I really kind of didn't like, and I didn't really get a chance to look into the menus if it was, you know, something you could turn off, is if you're capturing a point or losing a point and you're actually on that point, your whole screen would either kind of turn like a blue if you were capturing it or an orange if you were capturing it. I thought that was kind of dumb. You know, I can read the scorecard myself. I don't want my screen to change colors based off of that. I'm pretty sure, knowing Battlefield, it can be turned off because, well, Battlefield does Battlefield things right. But you know, that's kind of a feature I didn't like at the beginning. You know, some people are going to want that. I personally will not. But overall, you know, it's a cool little addition of the people that maybe don't play the objective too much and don't pay attention to the map, but like a visual cue of like, hey, you're losing this shit. Pay attention. Stop camping on the tower, you know, and things like that. But, you know, the customization was actually pretty cool. And when it comes to the operators, we only had 4 of them: the medic, the turret one, the sniper, and the grapple hook guy. I'm not going to dig through and go for the names. The grappling hook wasn't as OP as I thought it was going to be. It was definitely useful to cover, you know, distance a little faster. Didn't really kind of, you know, I couldn't get to the top of objects very well. So I couldn't get up, like, scale entire buildings like freaking Spider-Man or anything like that. I could get to a roof of, like, a quick little 2-story pretty quickly, and I could move, you know, forward, but I wasn't slinging around killing people. I'm sure it's possible with a little more hands-on time, but I didn't think their abilities were super overpowered. The turret wasn't murdering me left and right. The sniper, you know, the ability, it was apparent enough that you were being shot at or somebody was aiming at you or coming up on you, but it wasn't like super OP. So there seems to be a good balance when it comes to the operators and the specialists. So I'm not super worried about them being over OP or anything like that, like a lot of people are worried about. So I kind of want to see more once we get more to play with, more operators on the 4. Maybe, you know, see exactly what's going on with them in terms of if they're OP or not. Overall, the beta's fucking awesome. I'm really excited for it. I feel like Battlefield 2042 might just be the Battlefield that we want. A lot of it I need to judge in more of a longer time span and more of the full game. The gameplay itself is awesome, but there's just a few things that I'm not really gonna know if it's the Battlefield for me or if it's gonna even come close to Battlefield 3 or 4 until the full game kind of comes out. But there is hope. It's not a Battlefield 5. It seems more on par to Battlefield 4 with a few adjustments here and there. But overall, man, I'm having a blast with it, dude. Like, I'm going to dump some serious hours into this, but time will tell if it's actually the Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 killer, or if it's just kind of its own thing. You know what I mean? If it just becomes its own genre of Battlefield where you can't really compare it to any of the other ones because it's its own thing, it's its own entity. But let me know what you guys think from this. Let me know what you guys think from the beta itself. I'm really curious to see where you guys all stand. But anyways, boys, if you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments below. Talk to you guys later. Peace.